Hey everyone, welcome back to Teenager Therapy. I'm Gael.
I'm Thomas.
I'm Kayla.
I'm Mark.
And welcome back to the podcast.
Hello.
Welcome.
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 I hope everyone is having a good week.
Mm-hmm.
We're not.
We're definitely not.
At least Kayla and I are not.
Send them your
And
best
that's
wishes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally okay.
Send us a hug, guys.
Maybe
Send
it's just
them-
because you haven't gone to the beach in a while.
True.
Think about
Actually,
it.
Thomas, you have.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
And that kind of helps,
So
right?
there's no excuses now.
Hey.
That's
Yeah.
true. Well, that's okay. That's okay. It is, I don't know, maybe something's going on with your sign.
You know, I think that's exactly why.
That's exactly why. Come
Yeah.
on, don't
for
worry
sure.
about what you're doing. You're doing nothing wrong. It's all in your sign. But this episode was inspired by one of you guys who was in our Discord, by the way. Join our Discord, teenagetherapy.com. Click on the Discord logo. Someone asked if we had done any episodes on confronting friends because they were in a situation where they were getting anxious and they wanted to confront their friends, but they were too scared and they didn't know what to do. And we realized for all the confronting we do on this podcast, we haven't done an episode dedicated to actually talking about the act of speaking up, of confronting someone. So I feel like it's a little overdue. Kind of surprised we just haven't touched this topic at all.
Wow.
So where to even begin? I mean, first of all, anyone got any stories, any personal experiences, thoughts about confrontation?
I am a pretty confrontational person. Like, if something bothers me, I'll just say it.
Why?
Because I feel like in the past, there were so many things that, could have been prevented if I just, stood up for myself or, I'm actually, doing well. And so if someone, is just, really ruining my fucking mood, then I'll just say it. Because I don't like to, BS and I have to put up an act and stuff. I'd much rather just straight up say it.
Okay.
And I admire that because I am the opposite. I'm very non-confrontational. It just makes me anxious how that person in the Discord was saying. Yeah, it just makes me nervous because I never know how the other person will react. And I feel like a lot of the times when you confront somebody, it's so easy for the other person to get defensive. And then it feels like it's hard to have a productive conversation like that. And that's what scares me.
Yeah.
Same thing for me. I get a lot of very anxious, so I often just keep some things to myself. But there are certain things where I can't really let go. You know, if it's any values or if any of my values are being compromised, that's when I would usually confront people.
Interesting. For me, I feel like I can be confrontational, but I don't know if it's something I do very often. If I really do need to, and I know it's what I have to do, I will. But for the most part, I try to avoid it. I think the hardest type of people to be confrontational with are the ones that get quiet and they don't speak back and they just get quiet. Those type of people, I suck at confronting because it's what the fuck do you do? Even if you're speaking to them in a healthy way, hey, this really bothered me. Oh, okay, sorry, and that's it. It's I don't know. It's there's some people that when you confront them, they just stonewall you, fucking just ghost you,
Shut down.
And those are the ones that are really hard to have any conversation with.
Yeah, a lot of the times that's what I go through with my friends and all of that. And it feels like you have to take care of everything or really just pave the conversation and stuff.
Yeah, I hate it. Oh my god, I hate it.
A lot of effort and work.
It is. I find that the people that I'm able to speak with, if something bothers me, I know I could speak up and be yo, don't do this or don't do this. It's the people that actually listen and speak back. And yeah, or even right now, if I think about the people that like I feel comfortable speaking up when something bothers me, it's always like people that actually talk back. So yeah, I really, really don't like when people just stonewall you. I think that's the term. That one's really, really difficult.
How do you typically respond when somebody confronts you?
How do I respond? I listen. Honestly, I think I do a good job at not getting defensive. I do still get defensive sometimes, but I have to remind myself to let go of my ego and like if I'm wrong, like actually admit I'm wrong. Especially like in a relationship, confrontation becomes so much more common. Like you have to do it with them and they have to do it with you. There's been like a lot of times where I find myself like defending myself and I'm like, why am I doing that? Like, do I actually believe this or am I just trying to
Like save face.
stay afloat, right? Like save face, be like, no, like I wasn't wrong. I'm like, okay, like if I try to like remove myself and stop reacting and just start like thinking about it like logically, I guess. Like, is this actually, did I like fuck up? Did I do something wrong? And if it is, then I'm like, okay, I should apologize. Like I gotta just calm down. Because we do tend to react when confronted. Like your first instinct is to react and just be like what? Like no, like just like denial. At least for me, I find that every time I get confronted, even if it's something small or big, my first thing is like, huh? Like that doesn't make sense. And it's not until I remove myself from the situation and the emotions that I'm like, like no, yeah, like I could see how that happened.
That's a nice way to like put it. Cause every time I think of confrontation, I think of like impulse and emotions, and a lot of like actions are based on impulse and emotions. So
like yelling or like just like suddenly like snap, like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
something like that.
Oh, that's true. I think that's how a lot of people think about it. Like confrontation is like this high emotion, like very scary
intense
thing, intimidating, intense. Exactly.
But it doesn't have to be.
No.
It can be just like a civil conversation.
Yeah. Like, hey, this upset me. Like, this really upset me. And that's another thing when confronting people is like, when you confront someone, should you, one, come with emotion, yell, be like, use anger and emotion to show that this is serious, or just communicate and be like, hey, this really bothered me?
I think, of course, like the latter is right or should be. Why would you go with the former?
Well, I think anger is a tool. So there's times to be angry. It seems more fair to, ideally in a perfect world where like humans are logical, first come just like respectfully saying what bothered you, and then if there's maybe no change or if they're not taking it seriously, then use anger to show this is really impacting you.
Yeah, that's what sucks though.
What?
You gotta like use your emotion as a tool to really like convey your ideas and your point across.
But I really do think anger is a tool. It's a tool, and recently I've been trying to like practice it more because I'm like, I should be angry. Yeah, it's hard being angry, so being angry, at least for me, is a tool.
I think I really only confront people when I'm angry. Like, I can let a lot of things go, and the only reason I am so confrontational is that like if someone is crossing the line, then yeah, I'm gonna be angry. And I don't know, it's like really fucking annoying when like people kind of aren't taking it seriously, or like they're not as, because the problem with having like civil conversations a lot of the times in my experience is that the person who is like trying so hard to like, I guess, be civil is the one who isn't taking it seriously enough, who is the one who doesn't see the problem, and that's why they don't understand why the other person is so angry. And I don't know, I think that's why when I was younger, when I would confront people, I would be so fucking angry, and it was because they just didn't understand why I would be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
But-
an interesting point of the people you confronted didn't understand why you were angry. And I think that's one of the important factors about confrontation is that I feel like you shouldn't really expect people to understand.
Really?
Yeah, because I feel like the reason you're confronting them is because assuming they don't know like what's wrong is you want to explain to them what you felt, how you were hurt, what you wish they would do about it.
But in
that's
some
why-
cases, yeah.
It's
But in most cases, like, I think for someone to have to confront you in that manner, something had to have gone down,
okay.
and it's not like something you can just be like, okay, well, it really bothered. Like,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you're like super, super hurt that like your first instinct is like, no, like this has gone too far. They're not listening. I have to come in like screaming and yelling for them to listen. Like, yeah, that's totally different scenario. But like, you know, what does healthy communication in general look like?
I don't know. People process their emotions. They feel their emotions. They understand that, like, emotions are complex. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of times people think that healthy communication is both people having to be calm and, like, no voices can be raised. Like, it has to just be like a normal conversation. But like, I think a healthy communication can involve emotion. It's just the people have to read it and they have to understand it and try to understand it.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. I do think healthy communication could also come in the form of emotions showing. Like, just because someone's showing emotion doesn't necessarily mean like they're wrong or something. Even, you know, it's like obvious as
Mhm.
that sounds.
Yeah.
But there also is, because I don't, from what I believe is like anger comes from sadness, from being hurt. And that anger, that sadness turns into frustration, which leads into anger. Like, in a lot of arguments that I've had, it's like it always starts off with anger and these high emotions, and then by the end of it, it might end in just like sadness and crying. And it's like that anger is just that first reaction that people have, but like the actual emotion behind it is just a lot of hurt. And that's why, at least me personally, I try not to take anger too, you know, as an attack on me, because I know like deep down something must have hurt them. So it's more like, what's the actual reasoning behind it? But when it comes to confrontation, it's always good to slow down and like think through it. I don't know. Recently, I found like the difference between reacting and observing, I guess. I don't know. I forgot what the other word is. Like reacting with emotion versus reacting with like logic and understanding. And it's, I don't know. I found it to be very subtle. Like I had this moment.
Yeah.
I forgot what situation I was in, but I had this moment where I was like, I found myself reacting to something, and like I could have swore that I was actually like not reacting with emotion, and I was thinking about it logically. I don't even know how to honestly properly explain this, but when I like took a moment to really like think about it, I was like, wait, no, I am still acting with emotion. Like I'm totally still acting with emotion. Like I gotta stop. And I like tried to switch it, and like somehow it worked. I wish I had something more helpful, but it just fucking worked. And like I don't know. It was so weird. It was this weird experience of where like I felt like for the first time in my life, like I get what people meant when they said like not reacting with emotions first and like thinking about the situation. And this wasn't like an argument or anything. It was kind of more like a personal decision, since we tend to make decisions based on emotion, not logic.
I try not to react on emotion or confront based on emotion. So usually I would like take a break somewhere. Maybe like reflect on what's happening, why I'm feeling angry, and then after that, that's when I would usually go back and confront that person where I'm not like feeling angry and all that. I keep saying all that. I gotta stop saying all that. But yeah, that's like what usually happens to me. I don't really confront them until in a way I feel guilty. Like, oh man, I gotta go back there. I gotta go out. You know what I
Really?
mean? Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. For
Yeah.
me, like if I wait too long, I just like forget why I was angry or why I was upset.
Yeah.
So I can't wait too long, or else I know I'm just gonna forget why I was upset in the first place and just let it go. Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to your question about what healthy conversation. What was it? Healthy confrontation looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, like in my opinion, personally, I don't think it should include yelling or screaming.
Mm-hmm.
I picture it as not like a civic conversation because I know that's like
Too robotic.
yeah,
Okay.
not natural.
Yeah.
Kind of nearly impossible
Mm-hmm.
because we're naturally like emotional beings. However, I think it's the difference is like intent. If you're acting on impulse or emotion, your intent is to, I don't know, something about the emotion. But if you're healthy communicating, I think you're leading or you're trying to go towards a goal. Like, and I think that goal is just being heard
Mm-hmm.
and compromising. I think those are the two goals that you need. Not you need. Those are the two goals. Oh, confrontation.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think when I think about a lot of the arguments I've had, like when it starts off with emotion and just a lot of anger and yelling, like it never gets anywhere on either side. We're both wanting to be the one that's heard, but neither of us are like listening.
Yeah.
And like it's always the same situation. It's like we're like yelling or screaming, and then we're like, wait, let's stop. Let's just stop. Let's take a moment to breathe,
Yeah.
relax, take a couple minutes.
That's
Okay.
really important.
Yeah.
Nobody does that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even do that until you introduced it to me. Like where you were like, take a moment, breathe. That was really helpful.
Yeah. Think about what you actually are trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you need a break, like go ahead and take that break.
Mm-hmm.
Communicate that. It doesn't always have to be back and forth.
It's funny because it feels like the times where you're like, if you're arguing with someone or confronting someone, the times where you're like, and it gets heated, the times where you're like, okay, let's just take a moment.
Yeah.
Usually after that is the moment where things kind of start to
Like,
move.
connect,
People are starting
click.
to be heard and like, okay, like I see
Yeah.
where you're coming from. Because when you're angry, your ego is like what you want to protect. I mean,
Basically.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard for sure to realize or find that moment to take a break. So I think what's really important is to stay conscious of that.
Yeah. It's a lot of practice.
Yeah, no, for
It's a lot of practice of learning not to react, instead of be like, okay, let me listen to myself. Let me calm down, get a hold of my emotions.
Yeah, gotta be really self-aware.
Yeah. Comes with practice.
I think when it comes to like confrontation, like I notice that I invalidate my own feelings in order to like fully see where the other person is coming from. So I'll like sacrifice my, like what I'm feeling in order to like, I guess, fully understand them. And of course this varies like based on situations. But yeah, it's sometimes hard because I don't feel like secure enough in what I feel. And so then when I like hear another person talking, I'll be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it makes things confusing for me because, and then afterwards I'll be like, actually, I don't agree with what they're saying or whatever.
Yeah. I really like that phrase of, I don't feel secure enough with my feelings, so I just listen to them. Because you just assume you're right.
Yes.
I experience that a lot too. Like you don't know.
No, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
It is, because it's like I just wish I fully knew what I was feeling and thinking, but yeah, it's just, it gets blurry sometimes.
It really does. You start questioning like, should I be upset?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
is this even that big of a deal? Maybe
Yeah.
I should be the one to
Yes.
just push it aside.
Exactly.
I have a habit of doing that. And it sucks because over time it really does get to you, because you'll keep not speaking up and you'll hold resentment because you didn't speak up and you feel like you weren't heard ever, so you just keep holding that inside you and eventually just like mad, like like I never was listened to, but it's like I did this to myself.
I didn't know you felt that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was the only one.
No, it's a constant thing, especially because my memory is so bad.
Okay.
Like, and when it comes to like a confrontation, it's like, oh, don't you remember this? Like, this happened. I'm like, I have no fucking clue. I have no clue. And like, that is the worst, because then it's just like, my reality is like, who the fuck do I believe? Like, I'm like, I lose confidence in myself and my memory, which makes it hard to confront people or stand up for myself. So learning to trust yourself. Like, the other person probably doesn't even remember that well. Maybe they're just saying they do. You never really know. So it's like, you just gotta go with what you feel. Like, if it's your reality, then I guess you just gotta live it. Unless you're just genuinely like unsure.
Like, how do you guys deal with confrontation when you feel like the conversation isn't going anywhere, or like it isn't being like, productive?
I usually like admit to my faults.
So do you think,
even though if I know that, I mean, just because there's like a, I think there's like a good and bad in like any side of a situation. And it's like, I know that's what they want to hear, like me admitting my bads. And so if that's like the easy answer, I usually go for that.
even if you don't fully believe you were in the wrong, or like you just say it to like please them?
Yeah, basically, just to keep the peace. I know it's like not good.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
I was
That
like,
just makes everything worse.
Yeah, that's I know. That's something that I've noticed like in the past that I've done. So
how does it make you feel in the end, though?
In the end?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, well, it makes me feel like shit for sure. Obviously, yeah, I feel like shit, you know, like I'm not heard, acknowledged. Like what I do is wrong and shit like that. But a mindset I would like have to like counter that would be, I'm just being the bigger person. I'm making the sacrifices because I'm strong or some shit like that. Like I can take care of it.
Being the bigger person is a myth.
So true.
Yeah, being the bigger person, it's not, I don't think it's what you think it is. You know, being the bigger person is not sacrificing your values or compromising all that compromising your feelings and emotions just to be the bigger person. No, that's not it.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is, being the bigger person?
I think people just use it as like an excuse for somebody to be like mature and like walk away from the situation. But I think in most cases it just involves the person silencing themselves, being like, okay, I'm going to walk away from the situation, so like we're both happy. But it doesn't really work, like,
yeah.
It's just, you end the conversation but with unresolved feelings, and it'll come up again until you have to walk away again, and then it has a toll on you.
It's not really healthy because you can't do that with like everybody.
Exactly.
Leave everybody, like you're it's like inevitable to be in that position.
Yeah, being the bigger person kind of sucks. Do not recommend it.
No.
Stoop down to their level. If they attack you, I don't know, attack them even worse.
Oh.
Like, fuck. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like there are just certain times, like, I feel like being the bigger person just involves, like, if you genuinely try to make it right, like, that you offered them, like, the chance to make it right, or you're the one who's, like, trying to forgive them or whatever, but they're not taking it, then, yeah, be the bigger person and kind of have to like accept it for what it is. I think being the bigger person just means like you do kind of have to sacrifice, but you don't sacrifice your own feelings. You just have to, I guess, give yourself the closure. Like you have to accept it for what it is and understand that like you're not going to get like what you deserve or what you wanted or anything. Like it is what it is.
Wow. That's so cool. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
That's
yeah.
really
That
cool.
was really
That's
good.
pretty cool.
Thank you.
Holy shit. I feel like I've grown a lot when it comes to communication. In the past couple of years. I think especially what's funny is that like I think my current relationship helped a lot in that growth. Because the other person was like, I think communication and confrontation and all that, it's so, I've personally felt like I grew a lot when you come from a place of love and care for the other individual. Because that's what really allows you to just bring your ego and like take your ego down, take your defenses down, and just like properly listen. And I don't know. I think the biggest thing when it comes to communication, because at the end of the day, this is all confrontation. It's all about communication. Is what I do. I mean, is I first figure out like, why am I hurt? What is really upsetting me? What did I do that might have given them the wrong idea? Maybe they didn't mean to. Because if they genuinely didn't know that they hurt me or that this was going to hurt me, then sure, I could be mad, but you know, what can you necessarily do, I guess. So I just tell myself like, do I think they were trying to hurt me? You know, probably not. And if they weren't intentionally trying to hurt you, then I do think it's very nice to just give them like the benefit of the doubt, or just not be necessarily angry but still be hurt.
Yeah, I think like it's so important to understand that nothing is personal. Like it's very rare for someone to do something on purpose to hurt another person. And especially if like the conflict is with your friends or your relationship or whatever, they probably didn't do it on purpose to hurt you. And I think once you understand that, it's a lot easier to forgive and understand.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Like if I think about, I sometimes I see people that like one of their friends or colleagues or teammates, workmates, whatever, like does something that hurts them, and their first reaction is to react with anger and like, they fucking hurt me, they're like such a bitch, can't believe they would do that to me, that's so fucked up. And it's like, well, have you talked to them at all, like why they did that? It's like, no, I haven't, but like it's still messed
There's
up.
just, I mean, there's obviously limits. Like there are people who know what they're doing.
Yeah, but that's not like, that's a totally separate thing. This is like talking about like unintentional, and I think a lot of people take everything as intentional.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to take it as unintentional.
Yeah, but it just makes your life harder for you.
Yeah, I guess, but there are times where you're just like, how the fuck did you make that decision and not like see how that was gonna hurt me?
And that's why it's like sometimes people just don't know. Like to you, it seems so obvious. Like, like how could you do that? Like you should have known.
Yeah.
But it's like, usually when I have found myself in the situation, it's like, you should have known this was gonna hurt me. I was like, I genuinely didn't. Like I did not know. I'm so sorry this hurt you. I did not know that. I know now. I won't do it. Like, do you forgive me? And it's like, okay. You know, it's like a lot of times it's just not personal, like you said.
Yeah.
It's like people do bad things by accident. Doesn't mean they don't like you. They were out to hurt you. It's just sometimes, you know, things happen. And that's why it's so important you communicate about how you're hurt. Honestly, I think the first time someone hurts you, and if it's something you haven't talked about before, I feel like it's so good to just have that first reaction be like, it was unintentional. Let me tell them, this really hurt me. This is why it hurt me. And then if they do it again, react with anger, like, oh, they did it again. But yeah, I don't know. If you're someone that finds that you get mad at like the first instinct, like, holy shit, they're out to get me, like they totally meant to do that. It's like, I don't know. Have you ever hurt people on accident, done something that like you didn't know was going to be hurtful, but it ended up being really hurtful? You know, apply that same thing to other people. Anyways, yeah, if you're not a confrontational person, try your best to be, at least just voice your feelings. It's really important.
Yeah.
Like, don't you guys just get so fed up? Like, isn't it so exhausting just having to just keep it? Like, I don't know. It's annoying. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
It will get to you eventually. If not now, soon.
Yeah.
So tell people how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
If someone confronts you, try not to just ignore them, or shut down. I know it might be hard processing, like, oh my god, someone's mad at me, like, what do I say? Like, I'm ashamed, because a lot of times the reason people shut down is because there's a lot of shame. They don't want to speak because they just feel ashamed of themselves, like, oh my god, I'm so stupid, I just can't even deal with this. So just, it's okay to make mistakes. If you did something that hurt someone, apologize. They're more than likely willing to forgive you. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. Follow us on Instagram at Teenage Therapy. I don't know what poll or quiz I'll put in the description, if any. So I don't know. Go check it out underneath the Spotify description. It'll be a surprise. Exactly. Maybe I'll put something. Maybe I won't. Anyways, thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.